Here's why the dragon took Daenerys' body away from Jon Snow's wrath. When the ashes settled after the burning of King's Landing, a single moment defined the end of Daenerys Targaryen's story. Jon Snow, torn between love and duty, stabbed the woman he loved, the queen he had sworn himself to, and ended her reign of fire before it consumed the world. But what happened next was one of the most mysterious, powerful, and emotionally haunting scenes in all of Game of Thrones. Drogon, the last living dragon, found his mother's lifeless body, roared in grief, melted the Iron Throne into slag, and then did something no one expected. Instead of killing Jon Snow in vengeance, instead of unleashing fire upon him for Daenerys' murder, Drogon gently picked up Daenerys' body and flew away into the skies of Westeros. The show never explained where he went. It never explained why he spared Jon or why he took Daenerys away. But this moment is not just a mystery. It is one of the most symbolically loaded choices in the entire saga. In this video, we're going to explore why Drogon took Daenerys' body away from Jon Snow's wrath. We'll dive into the emotional bond between dragon and rider, the Targaryen legacy of dragons as more than beasts, the deeper symbolism of fire, prophecy, and destiny, and the countless fan theories about where Drogon went and what it means for the future of the Seven Kingdoms. This is not just about one dragon and one queen. It is about the ending of an era. So let's begin. To understand Drogon's final act, we need to understand the relationship between Daenerys and her dragons. From a moment her dragon eggs hatched in the funeral pyre of Khal Drogo, the bond between Daenerys and Drogon was unique. Rhaegal and Viserion were her children as well, but Drogon was always different. Named after her late husband, called Drogo, Drogon was the largest, fiercest, and most willful of her three dragons. He wasn't just her mount. He was her shadow, her weapon, her protector. He fought beside her in Slaver's Bay, carried her into battle, and in many ways represented her rawest, most untamed side. Unlike other creatures, dragons in Targaryen lore are not mere animals. They are tied to magic, to destiny, to bloodlines. Daenerys was not just Drogon's rider. She was his mother, his partner, his queen. When she commanded Dracarys, Drogon obeyed, not out of training, but out of instinctual devotion. This bond was unbreakable. And so, when Drogon found her body, it wasn't just the grief of a beast losing its master. It was the heartbreak of a child losing its mother. Drogon's decision to carry her away was not random. It was the final act of love, loyalty, and protection. One of the biggest questions fans had after the finale was simple. Why didn't Drogon kill Jon Snow? He had every reason to. Dragons are intelligent, emotional, and capable of vengeance. Drogon roared in rage, his fire building, his wings trembling. For a moment, it seemed Jon would be reduced to ash. But instead, Drogon turned his fury not on Jon, but on the Iron Throne itself. There are many theories for this choice. 1. Instinctual knowledge of Targaryen blood. Dragons are tied to House Targaryen. They are said to sense Targaryen blood, and Jon, Aegon Targaryen, is of that bloodline. Perhaps Drogon could not kill him because, in some instinctive way, he recognized Jon as kin. 2. Understanding of blame. Drogon may not have seen Jon as the true villain. Instead, he saw the Iron Throne, the symbol of power, ambition, and corruption, as the real reason Daenerys was dead. By melting the throne, Drogon was destroying the very thing that led to her downfall. 3. Daenerys' influence. Some fans believe Daenerys herself, even in death, may have influenced Drogon. Their bond was that strong. If she still loved Jon in her final breath, Drogon may have felt that love and spared him. Whatever the reason, Drogon's mercy towards Jon was not weakness. It was a choice, and it carried deep symbolic meaning. Perhaps the most iconic image in the finale was Drogon melting the Iron Throne. For 8 seasons, the throne had been the object of endless ambition. Men and women killed for it. Kingdoms burned for it. Lives were destroyed in its name. Daenerys herself justified her conquest through it. And in the end, it was the throne, not Jon, that Drogon destroyed. This act was not just grief, it was a statement. Drogon was showing that the Iron Throne was cursed, poisonous, unworthy of his mother's sacrifice. In fire and blood, the very symbol of Westerosi power was turned to molten ruin. And here's the deeper meaning. It was not men who ended the Game of Thrones. It was a dragon. The very creature that had built House Targaryen's empire was the one to end its greatest symbol. By destroying the throne, Drogon removed the cycle of ambition that killed his mother. It was an act of rebellion against human folly. After lifting Daenerys' body, Drogon flew east. Beyond that, the show never revealed her fate. Bran Stark, now king, later says Drogon was last seen flying toward Volantis. But where did Drogon go? And why? Here are the leading theories. 1. Old Valyria. Many fans believe Drogon carried Daenerys back to the ruins of Old Valyria, the ancestral homeland of the Targaryens. It would be fitting for her to rest in the cradle of her bloodline. Valyria is a place of magic, dragons, and fire. It is where her story began. 2. Volantis and the Red Priests. Bran's words about Drogon flying toward Volantis fuel another theory, that Drogon took Daenerys to the Red Temple over Lawler. The priests of the Lord of Light once believed Daenerys was Azor, a High Reborn. Perhaps Drogon was guided by fate to bring her body to those who might try to resurrect her. 3. A secret resting place. Some believe Drogon simply wanted to give Daenerys peace. He carried her somewhere far from men, far from thrones, where no one could disturb her again. A dragon's mourning, in this case, was an act of protection, ensuring her enemies never desecrated her body. 4. Foreshadowing future stories. George R.R. Martin himself hinted that Drogon's fate and Daenerys' body was not accidental. Some believe that in the winds of winter or a dream of spring, Drogon's journey will play a role. Daenerys' story may not be over. By carrying Daenerys away, Drogon gave her something no human ever could: dignity. Think of what would have happened if her body remained. The victors of King's Landing would have paraded her corpse, burned it, or buried it without honor. To her enemies, she was a tyrant. To Jon, she was a tragedy. But to Drogon, she was simply his mother. By taking her away, Drogon ensured that her story ended not with humiliation, but with mystery. Her final chapter belongs not to the lords and queens of Westeros, but to the bond between dragon and rider. In this sense, Drogon was not just acting as her child. He was acting as the keeper of her legacy. Let's not forget Jon Snow in this equation. His choice to kill Daenerys was not just about saving Westeros. It was about saving himself from her wrath. But after the act, Jon did not fight Drogon. He did not run. He stood, prepared for death. If Drogon had burned him alive, Jon would have accepted it. This quiet resignation is why Drogon's choice is so powerful. Drogon didn't just spare Jon. He spared him the burden of immediate punishment. Instead, Jon was left with his guilt, his grief, and his consequences. Drogon's mercy was, in many ways, a harsher sentence. The final act of Drogon is one of the most poetic closures in the series. It is not a king or a queen.